Hey guys, welcome to another video. My name is Ian. Welcome back to the channel, Ian the Reader. Today we have the final round of Jake and Stacey Choose My TBR, round 3. If you're just joining us, round 1 was back in like July. It was just any genre, and Stacey won by a reasonable amount. Round 2 took place in October, and it was spooky books, horror and mystery thriller books. And there was a tie first, and they had to submit tiebreaker books, and Jake edged out the competition just barely. But he came out on top. So they've each won one, and so for one final round, Jake and Stacey are choosing books for me to read. This time, science fiction and fantasy. So, Jake, Stacey, how are we feeling?
Good. I mean, it's fun to be picking books for you from our favorite genre or our most read genre.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm feeling pretty good.
I
But
was
we'll
kind
see.
of surprised the first time when it was kind of any genre goes. I don't think there were really there was ogres, which loosely sci-fi fantasy, and there was the passengers, which also kind of sci-fi. But I think that was it as far as like sci-fi fantasy goes. So I was kind of
Yeah.
surprised there weren't any fantasy picks really, and so this will be really interesting. Yeah,
Well, we were tailoring it to your tastes.
And we
that's
also,
fair.
I don't think we wanted to make you start a new series at
Yeah.
that point.
Right. Yeah, all bets are off this time because you got to pull out the big guns for
Yeah.
this competition. So, okay. Okay. You guys feeling confident in your picks?
Yeah.
I'm feeling pretty good.
I mean, I gave all of my picks like 4.5 to 5 stars.
Okay.
So
Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Yeah. Well, before we jump in, those of you watching, if you haven't already, please go subscribe to Jake and Stacey's channel. Jake is the bookish drummer, and Stacey is the chapter conundrum. They're amazing. Love their stuff. They're great people. So go follow them. Yeah. But now, before we get their official choices for me, I want to go ahead and give my predictions on what I think you guys picked. Now, Jake, yours were a lot easier. Stacey, I had a hard time, especially because you gave me the hint that at least a couple of them, I think, were ones that Jake either DNF'd or just wasn't as big a fan of. And I don't know if that's still the case or if you changed anything, but I was spending all afternoon going through your Goodreads, Stacey, and then every time I'd pick a book and be like, maybe this one, I'd go and check to see what Jake's score was on it to try to figure it out. So I did some serious sleuthing, but we'll see. Okay, Jake's first. So Jake, and you had also mentioned magical realism, so I'm going to keep that in mind as well. So my guesses for you are Sleeping Giants by Sylvain. What was that author's name?
Sylvain Neuvel.
Yeah.
Sylvain Neuvel. Such a cool name. And then 12 Kings in Sharakai, which I think could be from either of you because you both really like that series. But we'll see. And then my magical realism pick is a Haruki Murakami, and I read through all of your reviews of them and figured out that Hard Boiled Wonderland and The End of the World is your favorite. So that's my official prediction. So those are the 3 for you, Jake. Stacey,
Okay.
like I said, yours were harder. I'm not confident in any of them. So my first guess was Prince of Thorns by Mark Lawrence. My second was Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. I have mentioned her stuff on my channel recently as well on how I was interested in reading them, so I didn't know if you'd watch that and maybe were like going for it, even though it's like a longer book. So we'll see. And then total like out of left field one was How to Defeat a Demon King in 10 Easy Steps by Andrew Rowe, because I saw you like that one, and you know I like lit RPG because I like Cradle and like Dungeon Crawler Carl. So I was like, could be. So those are my guesses. We'll see how right I am, but yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and start off with your first picks, and we'll let the winner from last round go first. Jake, what is your first pick for me?
Well, let's go with one that you guessed correctly, which would be Sleeping Giants.
Rad. Okay, cool. So I think of all 6. Oh no, at least of your 3, that's the only one of my guesses that I own. So sweet.
Do you have the audiobook?
I don't, but I can get access to it. I'm sure it's on Cloud Library or something. Why do you recommend the audio?
It's the only way I would read it.
It is a good audio. It's full cast.
Yeah, it's a full cast narration.
And the book's interview format, right? So it brings it to life.
Right? Every character in the book has a different narrator, so it's very easy to keep track of that way. Do you know
Interesting.
anything about the book?
Literally no idea. The only reason I bought a copy is because it was on clearance and I knew that you really liked it.
Okay. So I don't want to give too much away, but basically the first few chapters is that these people all across the world are finding stuff hidden underground, and I really don't want to give too much away because it's just so much fun to figure out
Okay.
what's going
Yeah,
on.
you can tell me. I can just read the back. Is the back like okay? Is it safe or is it one of those where it like would spoil it too
Um,
much? Because you know
None
from
of that.
last round that I like context in books.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say read the back. It doesn't give too much away.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, I know you really like this author, so that was
Oh yeah.
probably the guess I was most confident in. So.
So this is also probably my favorite trilogy of all time, which might be, I
Mm.
mean, definitely unpopular, but I
That's a
love this
bold. That's a
trilogy so
bold
much.
statement. Yeah.
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 Well,
Book 1 and 2 were good, and then book 3.
dang. Okay. Yeah. It's interesting because typically, like with full cast narration, I'm not a huge fan because I listen
Oh
to books
boy.
really well. Listen, hold on, but because I listen to books at like an elevated speed, and so like when there's tons of different readers and stuff, it just throws me off. But because that one's a shorter book, I'll probably just slow down the audio so I can get the full experience. So it'll be good. It'll be good. So
Interesting.
excellent. All right, Stacy, what's your first pick for me?
My first pick. Well, I'll go with the one you guessed first
Okay, I
as
guess
well.
what? Okay, let's hear it. I have
So
no idea.
I'm gonna go with Prince of Thorns.
Okay,
Mark
interesting.
Twain.
Nice.
And funny enough, this wasn't on my top 3 picks, but then I was talking about my picks with Jake, and he convinced me that this should be there.
Oh man, wow. Okay, I
But
have so many questions. Why, Jake? Did you think that this one should be there?
Well, it wasn't necessarily like this book. Like it was more so the other book that she had. I wasn't convinced that
Sold
he would
on.
actually
Okay,
like. So
interesting,
I was
interesting.
like, well, you like this book better, and I think he would probably like this book better.
Gotcha.
yeah, you convinced me.
Okay.
The reason I was hesitant to choose this one is because it's a book that I love, but I also know it's a book that in order to love it, you have to be okay with a lot of things and have very specific tastes. Like it's not one of those ones that's going to be widely loved.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Yeah.
yes, it's a favorite of mine, but I sort of hesitate a lot of the time to recommend it because I
Right.
know how people receive it.
Well, I know the
But
main character
basically,
is like despicable, right?
yes. So
Okay.
you're following Jord, and he is a villainous guy. But the story's told in 2 timelines, and I think they're about 4 or 5 years apart. And so for me, a lot of the intrigue is in, well, how do we get from point B? Like, how do we get from point A to point B? Or like, you know, what
Right.
happened? What transpired in between these 2 timelines to get us where we're at? And a lot of the joy of the series for me is digging into Jorg's backstory and just finding out how he became who he is. Like what happened to him in order to make him this awful.
Nice. Okay. I'm intrigued by it. I've always wondered because I know people have very strong feelings about this book. Either it totally works for them or they just can't get past like the main character. Typically seems to be how things go. I'm not I don't have a problem with like anti-heroes or people who are main character. Like I obviously liked you with Joe from last round and yeah, I like a bad character, so
Yeah.
this will be
This
my
is like
first Mark
a
Lawrence
whole other
though.
step though.
Okay. Yeah. Well, a whole other step from Joe. That's not a good sign.
Yeah, he's pretty bad. I really didn't actually like this
Ooh.
book too much. I know it's
Yeah,
one of your favorites.
that was why I picked this one is because you had said which is interesting that it wasn't even in there until the end because I saw Jake didn't rate it very highly, but you did. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Interesting.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
this will be my
fun.
first Mark Lawrence. I'm
Do you
excited.
want
Yeah,
do you
it
want
was
to
my first Mark Lawrence.
do you want to tell him what book you were thinking of?
Yeah,
Or you
what
want
were
to
you
save
No.
it
going
till
to?
the
No,
end?
No,
we'll
you don't
save
want
that
to?
in case I need a
Okay.
tiebreaker.
Yeah, you might need a tiebreaker, so we'll
Oh
see.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
It's
All right.
top secret.
We will see. All right, Jake, pick number 2, please.
So you also got another book correct,
Let's see it.
and that would be Hard Boiled Wonderland and the End
Rad.
of the World.
Okay, I'm very excited about this one.
I,
So
I probably gave it away if I asked like if we could do magical realism.
you did, yeah. You asked if we could do magical realism, so immediately the Haruki Murakami bell in my head started ringing. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this one is definitely my favorite. And not only is it my favorite Murakami, it's just one of my favorite books of all time.
sweet. Yeah, I like Haruki Murakami's writing. I wasn't crazy about Norwegian Wood when I read it earlier this year, which was my first novel from him, but I really liked his memoir, and I have like a bunch of his books. That I don't have that one physically. I have the Kindle version for it, but yeah, very excited about this one. And it's not too long either. Look at that, you guys. You guys are keeping it pretty short so far.
I
Yeah,
I
well, just wait.
I well I kept it I kept it short.
Okay, all right, very nice. So, I know this one is like magical realism, but it's also kind of like a detective story. As it says, like Hard Boiled Wonderland. Is it a detective story?
I wouldn't describe it that way.
Okay, so it's
The
not. I don't know anything about this.
Yeah, so the way it almost reads like it's two books because you're reading it from one perspective and then you're immediately getting it from another perspective, and at the start of it you have no idea how they're connected until really the very end. So really the intrigue for me is just seeing like how this kind of normal perspective kind of translates into this kind of weird magical realism part. Like how do they connect in the end? And I just thought it was really brilliant the way that he did it.
Okay, I'm very excited about it. So, and you rate it very highly. Like I said, I know you love Murakami, and the fact that this is your favorite is a good sign. So
Yeah.
cool. All right, Stacy, number 2.
So you did not guess my other two. I'll tell you that much.
Okay.
I thought about Outlander for a hot minute, but then I was like, I can't make you start a 10-book series.
I get it. I get it.
So I went with Blood Song by Anthony Ryan.
Whoa, very
Trin
interesting.
will be very happy about, I'm sure, if she's watching. Essentially, in this one, you follow Valen Al Sorna, and it's more of a military fantasy, but a lot of this is kind of like his training experiences, and you get to sort of meet like the brotherhood of guys that he's like training with and see their relationships develop. And obviously, there's some magic going on too that's like very subtle, and you're sort of like slowly uncovering what's going on with that. But in this one, I think the beginning POV is like some chronicler or scribe, and it's like Valen as he's already like past the events of the first book. So it's kind of confusing at first. So you're like figuring out that like this is where the first book ended, and then you sort of go back and unfold how he got there.
Interesting.
So
Okay,
it's
yeah.
good to know that up front too.
That is good to know. Yeah, I've heard really good things about this first book in particular. I think the series gets more divisive as it goes on.
Well, I
Have you
haven't read past the first book yet.
Okay,
so.
well, hey, that's fine then. Maybe it'll work by itself for me. But I've read The Pariah by him, and I really liked it. So, but I've heard that this is very good. So, I just didn't even cross my mind. Maybe I just didn't see a review for it or something.
Maybe.
How long ago did you read it?
Oh, so long ago. Like 2020, 2021, maybe.
Maybe I just didn't go far back enough. So maybe.
Yeah, and I think too, like I would have appreciated this more had I read it as a more seasoned fantasy reader. And even back then, I rated it highly.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah. So very nice, very nice. Okay, I'm excited about the one. Like I said, it didn't cross my mind at all, but I'm very excited about it. So cool.
Okay.
All right, Jake, your final pick.
So this one you did not guess.
Okay, I thought I might have guessed all 3, so that's fine.
I will say Shirikai, I thought about it, but again, I didn't want to have like a long book and then also like a 6-book series. I went with a shorter book.
Okay.
And it's the first book in a trilogy.
Hold on. Is it a George R. Martin one?
No.
Oh, okay. I knew he's your favorite author, so I wondered for a second. Okay, tell me. I have no idea.
It's The Bone Shard Daughter.
Oh, wow. Okay. I totally forgot you liked that series. Yeah.
So, yeah, I love this first book, and we've both read the trilogy. The first book is definitely the best, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm definitely excited for you to check this out.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about. Yeah, I mean, I've heard good things about the whole series, but typically, I think people do prefer the first book, from what I've heard. So that's fine. That's fine. I like it. So I've been wanting to try this author. I haven't. I mean, the book's out now, but I have an arc of her new one.
Okay.
I haven't read yet.
I have it on my Audible, but we haven't read it yet.
Yeah, I got a physical arc, but I got it like right before it came out, and I was like, I'll get it to you later. So this will be my first, and then if I really like it, then I'll read the arc of that one. So sweet. Okay, cool. Yeah, this one's been on my radar for a long time, so very excited about that.
Awesome.
All right, Stacey, your final book.
My final book is The Way of Shadows by Brent Weeks, the first in the Nightingale.
Damn it! I had that on my list until the last second.
The reason I chose this one is because it has one of the most intriguing fantasy plots I've ever read.
Okay. So this is assassin fantasy from Brent Weeks, the author of the Lightbringer series, right?
Yes,
You've
but
read
I'm like,
all
yeah,
of
I've read
his
all of
books?
Lightbringer too. Yeah.
Have you read all the
Well,
which series do you like better?
I have not yet read
Nemesis? Okay. But the original trilogy versus Lightbringer, which one do you like overall as a whole better?
This one.
Cool. I know you didn't like this one, Jake, right? Do you DNF it?
I liked the first book.
Okay, maybe you gave
But
it
you
4
DNF'd
stars, and
it.
that's why I didn't put it on the list or something. Yeah, okay.
I DNF'd the second book though.
Yeah.
Rough. Okay, tell me.
Which I understand, because there's something that happens in the second book that takes up like the first half of the second book that even I didn't really root for, but it gets better.
Okay.
But that isn't really as big of an issue in this first book.
Yeah, it's not relevant, so.
But I'll give you kind of like the skinny about what it's about.
Please
so
do.
I think you get 3 POVs, if I remember correctly. It's been forever since I've read this too. So you're getting a master assassin, Durzo Blint, and then you're also getting like this street kid who wants to apprentice under him, named Kylar Stern or Azoth, depending on which identity he's taking on. And then you also get, I think, Logan Gyre's POV. And I'm not really going to tell you how he's tied in, but just like he's tied into the bigger like political aspects of the story. And so a lot of it, I thought about this in particular because I know you liked Loch Lamora, and sort of like Azoth or Kylar is sort of like his POV is sort of that vibe where it's him surviving on the streets in like his guild at first, and then he decides like, oh, I want to apprentice. So it has sort of like similar vibes as Loch in that section. So I thought it would be a good bit that way, but also I liked the bigger political story that unfolds in here. And I will say too, like a lot of people going into this, if they know about Lightbringer, expecting more of a hard magic system, but this one's actually a pretty soft system where you don't really understand a lot of what's going on. So just set that expectation too.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think it's a strong pick because I like political fantasy. I like Loch Lamora. I like assassin fantasy. So I mean, and I liked. I've read the first Lightbringer book, and I really liked that his writing style. So this came first, though, right? This was his first
this
book?
was his debut.
Okay. Very interesting.
And I think too, like with Lightbringer, he sets up a lot of intrigue within the series, but then he doesn't necessarily have answers to those mysteries. In this series, he does a better job of like tying up loose ends.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay.
Yeah.
Even though he continued it with Nemesis and he's writing more, so.
Yeah, I'm excited to read that, but I need a reread of this first.
Right,
because
for
I
sure.
Too much.
Okay, very exciting. So just to recap, Jake's 3 books for me are Sleeping Giants, The Bone Shard Daughter, and Hardboiled Wonderland and the End of the World. And Stacey's 3 books for me are Prince of Thorns, Blood Song, and The Way of Shadows.
Yeah.
Very good. Alrighty,
so
guys.
You thought you were getting away with short books.
Yeah, those are pretty chunky.
Well, I picked short books for you, Ian.
Thanks, Jake. I'll keep that in mind when it comes to scoring. Yes.
Brownie points.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like long fantasy though. I do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I only made you start trilogies. I didn't make you start anything too crazy.
It's fair. I would have been fine. I'm really surprised neither of you ended up picking the Sharakai one because I've been guessing that I guessed that for the first readathon too that one of y'all would pick it, but
I thought about it, but I don't know.
I thought it was a guarantee from one of you. My only issue was guessing if Jake was going to pick it for me or Stacey, and apparently neither. So maybe one of you will use it as a bonus or a tiebreaker. If we have one. I don't think there'll be a tiebreaker for this one though.
I hope not.
I hope not. That's a lot of books. You guys have already made me read so many. So just to set the expectation for the other 2 rounds, I read the books pretty quickly because they were all short and kind of diverse. With these being mostly fantasy books, I'm very much a mood reader, and some of these are quite long, so I'll probably spread this out. I'm going to aim to have all of them finished by the end of January, so that'll give me 3 months. We'll see. I might end up finishing it beforehand. It's just I also have a lot of stuff like I'm trying to read by the end of this year, so.
Yeah, and then Christmas is always busy.
We've also got Wind and Truth to read in December.
We have Wind and Truth to read. That's right, and it's 60 freaking whatever hours long.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it's going to be great. But thank you guys again for forcing me to read your favorite books. This is the last round. So this is it. Give me a couple years. Maybe we'll do it again, a revival. But
and then you got to pick books for us to read.
That's right. I need to pick books for you guys to read. Although I feel like I need somebody to pick with because otherwise, I mean, what am I competing against myself? I don't know. So,
You're
just do it. That's my prize. My prize is I get to force you guys to read my favorite books.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, that's really our prize too.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. So I mean, and how many books is this now? So there were 6 from the first round, 8 from the last round. And am I right?
Well, really 9, but then you spoiled
yourself.
Yeah.
So that's 6 and 8, and then another 6 this time. So that's 20 books.
Yep.
Jeez. I'm excited though. I'm excited. All of these are ones that I'm interested in, and I was already interested in. So should be good. Should be good.
That's good.
So. Yeah. Well, thank you guys again so much for helping me out with this. And thank you all for watching. Like I said, go ahead and subscribe to Jake and Stacey. They're the best. And stick around here as well for the results eventually. So, yeah. And leave a comment down below saying who you think is going to win.
We'll see. Guy.
I don't know.
We will see. I at the end, I'll probably just out of curiosity average all of your books to see what your score was from all 3 rounds, just so even if you lose round 3, if you have the higher average, you can at least have that for you. So,
yeah, that's fair.
We'll see. Alrighty, guys.
Firestarter's gonna kill me now.
You know, it's funny. I rated other books the same as Firestarter, but that one just I had higher hopes, and it just let me down so much.
It lower than you did.
I honestly, if it weren't for the fact that it was Daddy King, I might have raised it. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.